مساء الخير جميعا ولجميع أعضاء ال APS. شكرا مروان على الانترودكشن، ألكسندر وجميع الحضور، دكتور فكري وزريدي، لجميع الموجودين. وبيسعدنا اليوم طبعا نكون مع شخص عنده اكسبيرينس طويلة بعالم القبب الفلكية. مثل ما بنعرف حنقول الانترودكشن البايوغرافي تبع جون بالانجلش وحيكون في ترجمة. So, John, it's a pleasure to have you with us today, and I'm thrilled to introduce a true leader in the world of planetariums and astronomy education, someone whose work has inspired audiences around the globe and helped shape the future of immersive science learning. Jon Elvert is a seasoned planetarium professional who has directed facilities in New York, Oregon, Louisiana, and in so many other places as well. He led different educational programs and oversaw major theater upgrades, including full dome video systems. He began his career with an internship at the Strasbourg Planetarium in Rochester, New York, and presented programs at the Carl Zeiss Planetarium in Stuttgart, Germany. John has led leadership roles as the president of IPS from 2003 till 2004, the Pacific Planetarium Association, and the Southeastern Planetarium Association. Named as IPS Fellow in 1992, he has also taught astronomy at the University of Oregon and Lane Community College. He has hosted 4 major planetarium conferences and served IPS in several key roles, including chairing the Vision 2020 initiative. John, thanks for being with us here today, and we are really excited to hear from you. So please go ahead and take it away. Thank you, John.
Well, thank you. That was a very lengthy introduction. That was very kind of you to say all those things. But thank you very much for the invite. And it's a pleasure to have the opportunity to present to the Arab Planetarium Society. I was really honored when Omar emailed me and asked me to present. So this is certainly a highlight, and I'm glad to be here. I guess I can start at the beginning, which is when I was a child. I had I think, a natural fascination with the nighttime sky. My family grew up in or outside of Chicago, in Illinois, and the skies were sometimes dark enough to actually see the Milky Way. We could sometimes see meteors in the sky. And one time I remember actually seeing the Northern Lights from the Chicago area. So this was all very fascinating to me, and I asked my parents soon thereafter to take me to a planetarium, and we actually went to the Adler Planetarium. But I think that next slide, please, that I was born about the time of Sputnik 1, and this was the first artificial satellite in space, and that was delivered by the Soviet Union. Today it's Russia, but the Sputnik was a satellite that also was to show how advanced technology-wise the Soviet Union was. And this began what became the space race between the United States and the Soviet Union. As a result, the United States government funded almost 200 schools across the United States to have planetariums and to develop interest in astronomy and space. So in this environment, there were lots of planetariums being built, but also in school, science and astronomy and space was beginning to be taught. So my first trip to the Adler Planetarium, next slide, please, was very instrumental in developing my interest in the night sky. So this is roughly an old picture, obviously, of the Adler Planetarium, which was the first planetarium in the Northern Hemisphere. But I remember my first experience in the planetarium because it was a lecture. It was actually a talk about the nighttime sky. And the nighttime sky, it was fascinating to me because I didn't understand how you could see the nighttime sky during the daytime. But I also remember that the lecturer, the person, the presenter, only used a pointer, an arrow. Next slide, please. And these arrows pointed out objects in the planetarium sky. So the pointer would point to a bright star or point to a star cluster like the Pleiades. It would point out constellations in the nighttime sky. But the planetarium also had what we call special effect projectors, where these projectors would simulate phenomena in the nighttime sky. So there's a projector that shows you meteors or even sometimes clouds. They had a solar system projector that projected the planets that were visible at that time in the nighttime sky. So it was a real, as I remember, very, very basic way to show the natural phenomena in the nighttime sky. I mean, these projectors had little lenses, they had little light bulbs, they had gears, they were little devices that were able to show these objects in the sky. And that in itself was very, technology-wise, very progressive, because before this, nobody could understand phenomena in the nighttime sky without really trying to visualize it. And shortly after my experience at the Adler, next slide, I remember asking questions about what are stars? I mean, why did all these stars that we see in the planetarium sky, some were colored stars, some were clusters. There was, I remember a slide of the Andromeda Galaxy, and I didn't really understand what that was. And of course, are we alone if stars are so far away? Are there other planets around other stars? And how far can you go in space? And these questions, I think, are natural questions to young people that are interested in the sky. So my curiosity and fascination began to lead me to wanting to not only know more about space, but also I was very fascinated about the technology that was used at the Adler Planetarium. I mean, how do you create stars on a dome and show images of objects? So this stayed with me, and I graduated from high school, gymnasium, and then I went to college out west on the west coast of the United States, which was at the University of Nevada, which is right next to California. At the university, they had a small planetarium. It was 9 meters, and it was a Spitz projector. Next slide. And this Spitz projector was very simple in projecting stars again on the dome. I enrolled in astronomy courses at the university and began to spend weekends in the planetarium. I just came to stand around to look at how the employees delivered shows and what they did to think about creating different shows for the planetarium. So that began another interest of how to develop a planetarium show. And I found out that you need a lot of experience, not just in astronomy, but also in mechanics. You need some background and familiarity with photography, and even some creativity in art if you could design your own images. But the A3P, there were more A3P projectors across the country than any other type of projector, and most of them were in schools. So the projector was an analog projector. As you can see, some of these dials and gears, and it was called brute force projection. So inside the sphere on top, the sphere was covered with holes. We had 1,500 holes that projected 1,500 stars, and what they called was an arc lamp inside. And that arc lamp was bright enough to project those the light through those tiny holes and onto the dome to show the number of stars. But the analog planetarium with all its knobs and switches was very fundamental across the United States and a little bit in Europe of introducing astronomy in planetariums to the most people. So now thousands of people could now become interested or learn more about the nighttime sky through the planetarium. But here at Nevada, I also began to become aware of my interest in planetariums. This was a pivotal moment, I believe, in my understanding of what I wanted to do as a real career. And it was something that I became very interested in. How can a planetarium become a career? I mean, how do you get a job in a planetarium? So that interests me. There was another aspect of the planetarium, and that was music. That music was able to become part of the planetarium program as well. So next slide. There were other types of analog planetariums. It was just not the Spitz Planetarium, but also Zeiss. Of course, Zeiss factory was putting out some larger planetariums that were able to show up to 5,000 to 6,000 stars. So this is just an example of an analog control console, and this is in Prague, Czechoslovakia, or the Republic of Czech. And I just wanted to show you that the analog system of this particular console was quite large, and you had a lot of dials and some sliders and knobs and switches, and of course your arrow pointer. But you also had to normally talk live in these earlier programs, but you had to learn how to operate the entire console as well. So it became very complicated as technology progressed and more special effects were added and more visuals through slide projectors especially were added in a program. So this is a good example of how it became very complicated very quickly. After graduating from the University of Nevada, I had an opportunity to go to Germany. I was invited by some friends to come over, and I had once over in Germany, I suddenly realized I could actually become a student there. And so I enrolled, was accepted. I did have some German classes at the University of Nevada, So I decided that I would study in Germany and study natural science with a focus on astronomy. And at about the same time, the Stuttgart Planetarium was looking for presenters that spoke English, so the presenters could speak both English, French, and German to their audiences. So I was lucky enough to be hired at the Stuttgart Planetarium again as a part-time presenter while attending the University of Tübingen, which is in the southern part of Germany. University of Tübingen is where Johannes Kepler actually went to school. But again, it allowed me to begin learning about different ways of programming, different technologies that were used differently other than in the United States. And I actually spent 5 years in Germany. And during that 5 years, I also had the opportunity of visiting many planetariums around Europe and also visiting some astronomical sites throughout Europe as well. So it was a way to understand a different culture, a different way of presenting content in a planetarium in Europe other than in the United States. I met some United States planetarium directors in Stuttgart, and they encouraged me to apply through an internship program in the United States to try to re-enter the United States in the planetarium business. And I did. And that led to becoming an intern at the Strassenberg Planetarium in the state of New York. Next slide. And this planetarium also had a Zeiss projector. It was the most modern Zeiss projector at the time. It was a Model 6 projector. And you can see obviously that the projector still has its dumbbell shape of stars, but the control console is still an analog control console, but was integrated with a very primitive computer system. So at the Strassenberg Planetarium, this internship program was all about learning how to do and develop a planetarium show, how to write a script for the planetarium show, how to use special effect visuals, what kind of visuals can you use, and how, if you wanted to present a visual of a celestial object, how do you visualize it and how do you make it to make it onto the dome? It also helped with presentational skills. So develop presentational skills so you can actually deliver planetarium shows effectively, and also learn more about the educational value of shows in the planetarium. So it's just not, well, let's show you objects on the dome, but actually what are the educational value of those objects on the dome. So the Strassenberg Planetarium internship was very unusual, and it ran for about 15 years until they stopped the internship program. But it was a very intensive year of learning how to do everything in a planetarium program that makes a planetarium successful. Not just for audio and writing and the skills that you need to deliver and develop a show, but also the presentation and being able to effectively communicate to your audiences, essentially. So this was for me the deciding point in my life, actually, to really go after a career in the planetarium field. And so at the end of the year, with the help of the director, Don Hull, was able to get a job not so far away in New York, right north of New York City, in the planetarium called the Andrews Planetarium in a town right next to the Bronx, New York City. And this was a 13-meter dome. It had also an old Spitz projector, but it allowed me to, using my skills from the Strassenberg, to develop shows that were not only educational for schools, but also for the public. And I need to really say that it's important to work with other people. So all in my experiences in planetariums, you had to work with colleagues. You had to work with those that already were working in the planetarium and get along and develop a working style friendship with colleagues in the planetarium. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to get along and learn and be able to write and produce effective programming. So I was at the planetarium at the Andrews Planetarium for about 4 years. And this is a time when a paradigm shift in technology was occurring. You still had analog consoles and you had analog instruments, but you were beginning to have more and more of a computer-driven system, so that the computer would operate a soundtrack system and lay down the cues to operate visuals on the dome. But it was still pretty primitive at the time. And next slide. But the Zeiss developed its last major model. Okay, so the planetarium, again, when I worked at, I'll have to backtrack here a little bit, but it was in Nevada, and then in Germany, and then New York. So I gave you an illustration of the planetarium in Rochester, and I will then I'll get to Oregon and Louisiana here in just a second. So I'll have the next slide. But so the systems for operating planetariums became more complicated, and we have a Zeiss Model 9, which does not have the dumbbell shape anymore, but it has two spheres that represent the northern sphere and the southern sphere of the nighttime sky. It also projects all the planets and all the coordinates and clusters. We're talking about tens of thousands of stars that now can be projected, as well as the Milky Way. The planetarium then took a very dramatic technological step or leap, actually, in technology when it also introduced video. So video was introduced in planetariums, not as we understand it today, but as individual video projectors being positioned from the center of the room or from the back of the dome onto the screen. And today we might call that an inset projector. But video now became part of the program style, which opened up a large variety of different ways you can communicate visual effects. So it became, planetariums now are becoming more dependent on video projection. So from New York, I went to a position out on the West Coast in Oregon. And that was basically at the University of Oregon. And they had a 13 meter dome. This planetarium began to incorporate a video with its analog projector. And we were able to put together for the first time, one of the first planetariums began to put together or incorporate video with star shows. Certainly I wasn't the only one that was doing that, but the trend in planetariums then was to use video. So at the university, we used the planetarium not only for educational programs, but also to invite different events from the community. So sometimes we had plays in the planetarium, or we brought in music, small quartets or small individual accompaniments, so that we could use the planetarium as a venue to introduce interdisciplinary types of program. Mainly had nothing to do with astronomy, but to show that the planetarium had a different type of environment, that other people that normally would not come to the planetarium actually come to the planetarium to see something entirely different. And so I was very successful in bringing in different types of disciplines, both academic and entertainment, into the planetarium, and using the planetarium environment to open up more individual events for people, again, that normally wouldn't come to a planetarium show. And during this time, I became very interested in how IPS and planetarium societies were structured, how they pulled together different types of people, how they operated, and how they communicated to a variety of different planetariums. So I joined IPS, and I joined the Planetarium Pacific Society, and began to learn how the planetariums worked with each other and how they shared information with each other. So I at first was the Pacific Planetarium Association's IPS representative, and that I think I was their IPS rep for 8 years, and began to be encouraged to run for president. And at the end of my time in Oregon, I ran for IPS president and was elected in 2003. Next slide. From there, I went to Baton Rouge. And Baton Rouge was a 16, almost a 17 meter dome, and had close to 200 seats. So it was certainly a larger planetarium that could do more things, not only for education, but also non-educational activities. We could bring in more people to expose them to different types of astronomy, to different types of space science. And what was very exciting at this time in the planetarium field was that it became very, very visual, and you had more opportunities through computers to offer more data sets. So more data visualizations on the universe itself. So all this time, astronomers, of course, and telescopes, both space orbiting and telescopes here on Earth, have been collecting huge amounts of data. And this data could be then downloaded eventually and used in planetarium shows. So this became very exciting, that you could actually use real data sets to show your audiences the structure of the universe, what was known at the time to be structure of the universe, how far away galaxies were, what kind of galaxies, quasar galaxies, all the way back to the cosmic microwave background. So you had the possibility of expanding the definition of astronomy, not just what's up in the sky, but actually going beyond what you can actually see in the sky, and bringing into the planetarium what astronomers were actually studying currently. If a comet was discovered, or if a new star, a nova, or something very exciting in the nighttime sky that was happening in real time, the planetarium was able to capture that and bring it down into their audiences the following day. And today, you can do it in real time right now if something is discovered in the sky, and you can actually be able to put that in your planetarium programming, or show it to audiences almost immediate. So this real time became an exciting tool that planetariums could use and share with their audiences. That was very instrumental in my experience in realizing, excuse me, that this is what I always wanted to do, that to use the very latest of the technology that you could use, that was available to you in a state-of-the-art planetarium, and put it in a visual experience that immerses the audience. So this became an immersive environment, immersive technology that now we almost take for granted. But this was a time when you can actually produce some very, very exciting and educational experiences, even on what we call immediately, even on the fly. If you wanted to all of a sudden put this in your programming, the data sets today, the software that vendors provide, allow you to do this. So the full dome experience is certainly something that is still around with us, but the technology is beginning to shift again. But before I go on to the next slide, I do want to say that, most of what we have today in the planetarium field wasn't known when I grew up. When I went for the first time to the Adler Planetarium, again, we had the pointer, and maybe we had one slide, and we had the nighttime sky for the presenter to tell the story. At the time, it was very powerful because no one ever experienced anything like that before. And today, the tools that we have, the technology that we have, tells a different type of story. So we have right now unimaginable resources now to create stunning stories of the universe and our place within it. And we have not only the technology and the ways to tell the story, but we have all this enormous amount of scientific data coming down every day, and it's just sometimes overwhelming. So I guess if you were starting out today, or if you're interested in the planetarium business and wondering if you should actually go into the planetarium business, just think of what the tools and the exciting visuals you have today, like I had when I went to the Adler Planetarium, and what it will be like in 10, 20, and 30 years from now, maybe at the end of your career in the planetarium field, what that might be like. Certainly, it's hard to imagine, but it really right now depends on a lot about the technology we use. Next slide. So right now, our digital planetariums allow us, again, to fly through a virtual simulation of the universe. And the science visualization that we use allows us to do real-time rendering, which again is to use data in real time. And we can actually live chat with a scientist across another continent. So in our program, with the audience in the planetarium, we can actually speak to other scientists and explain the phenomena that we might be seeing on the dome. So if a scientist has discovered why certain galaxies performing the way they do, we can show those galaxies, and that scientist could actually talk to us in the dome. We can live stream through current events. So events that are happening, we could actually live stream those. We can make our shows tailor-made or specifically done toward a particular group. If a school wants to know more about only the planet Neptune and its moons around Neptune, we can do that. And of course, we can be very interactive in using our production tools. So we have, again, many tools to use, but it comes down to how you want to shape the content of the story you want to tell your audiences. And that, of course, is very, very important. And that is also dependent on the types of star projectors you use. Many planetariums today have no star projectors, but there are still vendors that are producing those star projectors. Next slide, please. So the technology will always drive what planetariums do. They will always drive how planetariums present their content. And some planetariums in the past, and maybe even today, say this has not been good for the planetarium field, that the planetarium has been driven by technological advances by a vendor or vendors. And the majority of the planetariums apparently don't really agree, but we use the planetarium for different means today. So the future of the planetariums, again, probably more driven by advances in technology. We're just beginning to understand how artificial intelligence can help us in the planetarium. Will they be able to develop different kinds of content? Will they be able to directly or indirectly attract more different audiences? The mixing of multidisciplinary immersive experiences certainly will be part of the future planetarium. And bringing in outside digital experiences into the dome is becoming more not popular, but used in certain planetariums. And what I personally believe will be part of any future planetarium is the hybrid of technology and collaboration. And collaboration being working with others, not only in the planetarium field, but certainly outside the field with educational facilities, universities, schools, but also with your community, with your local events that happen to bring different peoples, different audiences into the planetarium. And of course, entertainment. Planetariums have long been a place where You can be entertained. Think of laser shows, for example. Also, different kinds of entertainment under the stars. And again, bringing more people into the planetarium. But sharing connections and collaborations, I believe, especially those connections, are so important in the planetarium, not only in the past, currently, but also in the future. So the planetarium is certainly a place to learn about astronomy, but also will become more and more of a entertainment venue and event center. Next slide. I thought maybe I might say something about the shape of planetariums. We've been talking, or I've been talking about the planetariums inside and talking about instruments that project onto the dome, whether it's a mechanical optical instrument or a video instrument. But structures of museums and planetariums themselves are becoming so creative and so inventive and imaginative. And this is currently the largest planetarium in the world. It's in Shanghai. It's an astronomy museum. It actually has two planetariums. It has a 23-meter immersive virtual planetarium. It's a large dome there. And they also have another 18-meter optical planetarium. So they also, under one roof, have, I believe it's now 12 permanent exhibits, all about astronomy. And these shapes of these new planetariums that are being built are the shape sometimes of galaxies, of binary stars, of black holes. Well, not that you can't see the planetarium of a black hole, but what a black hole might be shaped and the surrounding of a black hole, and objects being attracted to the black hole. So the architecture of museums and planetariums, science museums and planetariums, are becoming just as important to attract audiences. I think the negative side is that these new museums and planetariums are so expensive. So that the problem for the future, will it be just these huge museums and planetariums that have the wherewithal, that can construct these new designs, or will planetariums continue to be modest in size? Don't know yet, but certainly this is a model for the future of the planetarium, and bringing in exhibits and attracting new people. And the Science Museum here, the Astronomy Museum, has attracted more tourists than they expected to attract. Within, I think, the first 6 months exceeded their expectations of the numbers of attendees they wanted to have after 1 year. So still, if you want to purchase a ticket online, they open up the ticket in the ticket sales in the morning, and with a minute, all the tickets for that day are sold out. Next slide. So artificial intelligence, like I said, will influence what we present. They might replace storytelling. They most likely will attract new audiences and create different kinds of content. So I hope that our artificial intelligence certainly works hand in hand with the creators of the planetarium. Next slide. The challenges that I've had certainly are probably universal. Budgets are always a concern. Staff personalities, getting along with your staff and being creative. your institutional constraints. So if you're working with a museum that doesn't support the planetarium, then that might be a problem. And you have to, of course, not overwork and create burnout and lose interest. You'll have many setbacks, but you have to overcome those challenges. And responding to uncertainty of the future. Funding, of course, will be, and how to create new shows. And I think loss of enthusiasm for what you do, for how you work, can be a challenge in a sense. So I certainly have experienced all of these, and sometimes it's very discouraging, but I've learned to remember that why I got into this business in the first place, and it's been very, very rewarding. Next slide. So if you're interested in astronomy or planetariums, certainly the conclusion would be storytelling is a way certainly to tell the story of astronomy. And planetariums and the role of society is very important. Spoke a little bit about how planetariums can fit very well in society, especially your local community. And we all remember and know that we already share a night sky together. And so the stories in the night sky can be told in different languages and different cultures. And we all share that one common theme. We all inspire our audiences. Certainly I was inspired, and I'm hoping that the thousands and thousands of children and school children that showed up for my planetarium programs were inspired today. Were inspired and maybe even have careers in the planetarium or astronomy field. So we need to remember that the planetarium is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to expand your horizons and learn and never stop learning. Planetariums are learning centers for lifelong learning. And we also want to always follow our passion and dreams. And I think that's mainly why you might want to consider the planetarium and certainly become involved in sharing your dreams and passions with people you get to know. Next slide. So if you're interested in astronomy, I believe this is my last slide, you need to visit your planetarium, your local planetarium when possible, and other planetariums wherever they might be. Make connections with planetarium people and share your passion and excitement for the nighttime sky. You'll want to meet other people, so attend conferences, attend meetings that allow you to learn about how other planetariums do show production and deliver programs. That is very important because it's a shared community today, and we all can share astronomy under our different domes. But the way of following your passion certainly will be dependent on people that influence you and people that work and you like in other planetariums that you can learn from. And that will encourage you to continue your career in a planetarium. And a career, of course, is not just a job. It's just not at least I don't believe planetarium people see it as a job. It's a purpose. It's becoming a meaning and a direction in your life. And that, in a sense, is a well-founded way to become part of the planetarium world and become closer to the people that work in the planetarium world. Museums and planetariums are lifelong learning experiences, and museums in general are, but certainly planetariums can change lives and careers in the planetarium field. So I know I'm beginning to run over a little bit, and I apologize for that. But next slide. But I, again, really appreciate having been invited and having the opportunity to speak with you, and hope that helps a little bit in your planetarium career, no matter where you are, whether it's beginning, in the middle of your career, or towards the end. I wish you all great success under a common sky. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you, John, and thank you everyone for listening. John, it was a great talk, and we really appreciate it. And it's actually so interesting to see how the technology with full dome projection progressed. And the way you laid this out to us, it was very interesting. And also for sharing more about your personal experience. So I'd like to thank you so much. And I guess now we can move forward for questions. If you have questions, you can simply raise your hand and John would be able to answer your questions. So إذا عندكم أي سؤال ممكن ترفعوا إيدكم وجون بيجاوبكم. عبد العزيز.
Unmuted. Hi, everyone. And thank you for this great lecture. Okay, actually, you went with us through the whole history of planetaria, from Sputnik to now. Okay, and let's put a good parallel comparison between planetarium world and space as a whole. They started with a Sputnik, one satellite that was doing just very basic thing, just sending messages in 1957. And now, okay, we are in the process of building habitats, building all of that. I know we haven't reached that. So the question with planetariums, okay, and you explained that very well, okay, the multimedia aspect. With the classical, I'm more into the classical planetarium where people can go and see the sky. And I think that's important. But yes, it's like the phone, okay, all of that. You had like a small dial phone. Now you have your smartphone that can do everything. It's a traveling library. It's everything. Okay. So the question, what do you see planetaria in 20 years, 50 years from now? Okay. I know it's not going, I'm optimistic, not pessimistic. I don't think that planetaria will disappear, okay, like the book, okay. A book will not disappear, okay, at all. All of that will remain. But the question is how people will see planetaria in 50 years. I'm not going to say 100 years. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Very good question. I know very many people, even vendors who make planetariums, are asking the same question. But personally, I mean, I enjoy the optomechanical star field more than a digital star field. And I think there are a couple of planetarium mechanical instrument makers today that make incredibly realistic star fields. And so I don't think that the planetarium star field by a mechanical instrument will go away. I still believe in 10, 20 years, you still will have the need by planetarium people to have a realistic looking star field for inspiration, for realism, and just for being authentic under a real sky. So the best of both reality might be to have a very good star projector and a full dome video. but certainly I would not like to see the mechanical projectors disappear. Planetariums will be around in 10, 20 years. But I think, yeah, your smartphone and everything else will just be more complex. But I think the star field will still be available.
Okay, we hope so. We all like the mechanical system. John, thank you. Zamil Hisham Yahya. So, Hisham, you can ask in English or in Arabic, and it could be translated.
شكرا. اسمحوا لي أن أسأل بالعربية وأترك لكم الترجمة. شكرا لزميلتنا بسمة على الترجمة وخلتنا نعيش هذه المحاضرة الرائعة. شكرا للمحاضر أيضا. تحدث المحاضر على ال AI الذكاء الاصطناعي. في أي مرحلة بالضبط يدخل الذكاء الاصطناعي، وهو شيء جديد علينا وعلى مجتمعاتنا؟ في أي مرحلة من إنتاج الأفلام؟ هل في مستوى تكنولوجيا العروض أو في مستوى الآلات أو العارضات؟ Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I couldn't. My
yeah,
translator.
I would like just to suggest to the translator, the astronomer translator Basma, just to switch to general, not Arabic now. If you got the question, you can directly translate it. And once you translate on the opposite side, you can go to the Arabic again. Okay? Yeah. حول الجنرال.
I guess I'm not understanding how to work the translator.
Yeah.
Do you want me to translate it, Marwan?
نعطي بس فرصة أخيرة. بسمة بس بتروح على نفس الايكون تختاري جنرال بس، وهيك بصير صوتك مثلنا. Just a minute, just بسمة is trying to help us.
Okay. I don't have an icon. I can't see the icon.
You can no problem. You don't need to do anything. بسمة will do it in this. Yeah, you don't need. اوكي بسمة فهمت عليها. في عندك نفس الايكون. مش سامعك انا على فكرة. روحي على الجنرال بدل العربي والانجليزي. طيب اوكي خلاص اذا نخلي دكتور اذا
or بسمة
محمد.
ممكن unmute yourself بسمة
خلاص انت قدم السؤال. هي بترجم بالعكس. اوكي بسمة ترجمي للعكس العربي وبترجم دكتور محمد للانجليزي. Please.
Okay. So John Yahya's question was really about AI, and his question is about like how and when will AI really affect the planetarium world? And in two directions. The first direction would be the video production, the content production. When do you think this will be effective really? And on the other side, will AI also be helpful with the engineering part of of the projection and of the projection quality and all the equipment, etc.?
Yeah, well, good question. I know that some planetariums are already using AI to develop scripts and to write scripts. So the planetariums are already using or being introduced to AI. How that will help with hardware in developing better planetarium projectors, whether video or optical, mechanical, possibly. I can see how the micro lensing and micro mechanics could be helped through AI, so that you begin to have even smaller planetarium projectors. I mean, there are a couple of planetarium companies that already create very, very small planetarium projectors. So it's, but I think it might be AI will be useful in presentation and attracting different audiences and producing different visuals or different ways of producing visuals that we now take for granted.
Okay, thank you, John. حد عنده بعد أسئلة لمستر جون؟
If,
I actually have a question.
if you know
Yeah.
one, I have.
Oh, yes.
If no one. Okay, thank you, John. It was a great, really great presentation. And you just took me to those days when I was developing the shows by the slides, the physical slides. You remember those slides? And the
that's okay.
Yeah, the simple projectors. That was in early 1990s. Actually, in that decade, the whole decade, that was my first planetarium, running my first planetarium in Amman, Jordan. And from 1990 to 2000, that was the first 10 years. That followed by another 14 years in Oman, Muscat Planetarium, and then now another more 10 years here in Sharjah, in UAE, in Sharjah. But the first, as you just said, those days when we use those basic things, the symbol, the physical slides, the painting around the object so as to prevent the light to appear as a square. Just you need the object itself. Maybe that was a planet or a cartoonic character. We did characters. I believe you did the same. So, and also using the mechanical system, the optomechanical system, I also used 3 now till now, but they've been developed, through time. So you just took me to those days. I would like just to give me some idea about your memories in this regard. What you exactly did, those shows, what did you use for making slide making, to make the scenario, recording on tapes, those, the big tapes. And I would like to share something that you have already did, Yani, 3 or 4 decades ago.
Yeah, a long time ago. Well, I always wanted to try and show in the planetarium something as realistic as possible. So if you show on the dome a slide through a slide projector, you usually have a gray format, so a square format of the slide. So what Marmon was indicating that you were able to use a little paint it's called opaque, and you would paint around your object, and so you wouldn't see that gray square format of the slide. And you could also maybe put a slide in a zoom lens, and you could zoom a planet, for example, in or out to illustrate motion. So it was a time to be very creative in how you could use some very simple tools to excite your audiences. So you could do rotators, and there were different special effect projectors that you could use to just illustrate whatever celestial event that you were trying to do. But doing a soundtrack was very sometimes difficult, where you would record on tape a narration, and then you had to edit that tape, and that took a very long time, just by taking a razor blade or a knife and cutting the tape to cut out mistakes in the voice. And then you had to splice or put the tape back together again. So that narration seemed flawless. And then you had to add visuals to the tape. So it was the process of producing a show took much longer than sometimes you can do today. Today you put a show, you can have AI put a show together now in a couple of minutes. But it's, you know, those old days were expensive as well. It was expensive to put a show. And then at the Strassenberg Planetarium, if you wanted to make a special effect, you had to build one. So you had to build an aurora. That was, how do you build an aurora or special effect, or a solar eclipse, or anything that moves in the sky? And that was a lot of fun, but it was a learning experience as well. So those good old days were very educational and a lot of fun. But I don't think I'd want to go back to using slides.
Yeah, thank you. Good. Yeah.
Interesting times and interesting stories. Thank you, John. Dr. Omar, you wanted to ask a question, Dr. Omar Fikri.
Yes, thank you, Muhammad. Thank you for all of you. Thank you, Dr. John. Thank you for accepting our invitation. For the other, I would like to share with you a huge memory. The first time was meeting Dr. John was in 2004. It was in Valencia, and I asked him what the possibility to invite IPS conference in Egypt. And he was that time he was the president of IPS. He says directly, "Okay, Omar, go ahead." And he was one of the officers of the IPS, which I make a presentation for our bidder file to succeed to invite the IPS conference in 2010. Dr. John was very helpful, was very friendly when you working with him. Thank you again and again, John, for your directly accepting our invitation. And all of us, I think we benefit from your talk, from huge journey in the planetarium, starting from analog up to the digital, and then open new windows for the planetarium in Arab countries, like using the AI and the challenges which you already put in our side, like how to change your staff, how you dealing with the audience needs. My question to you, Dr. John, what about the content, new content of the, or what's your opinion about the trend of the content of the planetarium shows now? All of them now not related to astronomy and space science. We see planetarium shows like in geology and the human bodies and biology and physics, not related to the sky and not related to the planetarium as a planetarium. What do you think about that trend of the new shows of planetarium? It's work. Can we make maybe sometimes we use the planetarium it's not in fields like the classical planetarium use to see the sky, stars, and the sky and the heavens. So now the planetarium marketing, especially for the shows, not related to the planetarium. So what we do, or what's your advice in that issue? Can we still working in the astronomy like shows or live shows,
في هذا المجال هل لازلنا نستطيع استخدام القبة الفلكية لأغراض فلكية؟
Thank you, Omar. I want to answer that, but first I want to say that the IPS Council met in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil in 2007.
في البداية أريد أن أقول أن مجلس جمعية القباب الدولية في ريو دي جانيرو في البرازيل
presentation to host IPS in Alexandria. and we voted to
قدم
go
يعني
to
دعوة
Alexandria in 2010.
للحضور
And I
في
was so
تقديم
happy.
عرض
I
في
couldn't
الإسكندرية
believe that we were going to
في
go to
السابقا يعني.
Alexandria and go to that part of the world. So and we had a wonderful time in Alexandria.
وكان وقتا جميلا فعلا لما لبوا
But to
الدعوة
answer
إلى
your question,
الإسكندرية. الآن
I thought about including
بالنسبة لسؤالك في
some
تضمين
remarks about that.
عروض
So
القباب
today,
الفلكية أشياء أخرى غير
you
الفلك.
can see so many programs in the planetarium that have nothing, absolutely nothing to do with astronomy or space
يعني
science.
كما ترون العروض الحالية متنوعة كثيرا وابتعدت يعني عن علاقتها بالفلك. مثلا العروض الخاصة بالطقس، الحياة، البيولوجي،
But there are so many programs that have
حيث هناك الكثير من
nothing
البرامج
to do with science in general.
التي تتعامل
And
مع
I
العلوم
believe that
بشكل عام
the
أكثر من
reason
الفلك
for
بشكل
that
خاص.
is so that more people will come to the planetarium
وهذا
that
يعني أن
are not
الكثير من
necessarily
الناس
interested
أكثر يأتون إلى القباب
in
الفلكية
astronomy or space science.
أكثر مما هم يعني يأتون
personally
فقط
think it's
للفلك أو
unfortunate.
للفضاء.
I would, I'm a little disappointed sometimes when I go to another
أحيانا
planetarium
أكون يعني
that I
يخيب
cannot see
أملي
a star show or that I cannot see
لدى
a
رؤيتي
related
الستار
astronomy
شو،
show.
العروض النجوم.
And so the content of what planetariums are showing today, not
حيث
only
أن
here in the
العرض أو
United
المحتوى
States,
الذي تقدمه القبة
but
حاليا
elsewhere,
في هذه
is
الشوز يعني
might be a trend. And I hope that, well, I certainly don't think that all planetariums will become entertainment venues, but I certainly hope that the vendors and producers will continue to create astronomy shows or astronomy-based shows. That I think fascinates young people. So hopefully future planetarium people will be excited about going to a planetarium and learning about astronomy and space sciences. So we will see, but I personally don't like the trend, but I can't do anything about it.
Okay, thanks, John, for your insight. We have another question from Ayman. Hi, Ayman.
Hello, good evening, all of you. Mr. John, first I would like to thank you, Mr. John, for your historical presentation of the planetarium. It was my good fortune to have witnessed the old system in Kuwait in the 1980. And,
أرى هذا النظام القديم في العرض في الكويت عندما كنت في الكويت.
and in Jordan under leadership of Mr. Marwan.
وفي الأردن تحت قيادة مروان.
So I would like to ask you, what kind of show do you think it attract audience to planetarium today?
ما هي أنواع العروض التي يمكن أن تجذب رواد القباب الفلكية حاليا في هذا الوقت؟
I think a tilted dome that creates an immersive environment.
أعتقد أنها يعني العروض التي توفر تجربة غامرة
than a flat
أكثر من العروض المسطحة
in older planetariums
التي كانت في القباب القديمة.
of a very high wall and you would be sitting near the floor and looking up at the dome. In newer planetariums that are tilted and that the audience is put more towards the dome, in the center of the dome, you have a more visual surrounding. I mean, you're more immersed in the star field. So I think that is more attractive or more just beneficial to learning, or more exciting. I think it's just. So I think that don't know if future planetariums will always be built like that. I did see a proposal for a new planetarium that has like rides, moving seats in the planetarium that go up and down. And so that this entire entertainment type Disney World or Disneyland, that we now have movable seats that can go forward and go up and they go down, and be a part of whatever is being projected on the dome. I think that's not my definition of a planetarium, but.
Okay. Thank you, John. Thank you, Ayman.
Can I ask another question, please?
Yeah.
My son, he saw the planetarium in Las Vegas, the biggest one in Las Vegas. It's very attractive.
You mean the dome, not the planetarium.
What do you think about it?
Yeah, it's not a planetarium. I think you're talking about the what is it called? Yeah, the visual dome in Las Vegas. It's an LED dome, and that's something that I also wanted to bring up. That the future of domes are becoming LED domes now, where and you don't need a video projector projecting on the dome, but you have LEDs. You have thousands upon thousands of LEDs in your dome to do all the. So that's the dome in Las Vegas, where they have an LED dome, but it's on the exterior outside of the building. So it's a dome, but the screen is on the exterior and it's all LED. So nothing to do with science or. I think it's terrible for light pollution, if you ask me. So.
Okay. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Mr. John. Thank you.
Do we have more questions? If not, I actually have one last question, John, and it's really related to what you were just talking about. Because in the future of planetariums, I thought you would mention something about the LED screens. So don't you think they will be essential in, I don't know, 15, 20 years? Don't you think so?
Yeah, actually I did have something to say about that, but in reality, the LED domes right now are so expensive. Unless you have a corporation or somebody who is very wealthy that wanted to bring an LED dome in, that is not for a typical planetarium. What I think about that, I think that there is a real future for LED domes in the planetarium, because they can do and show almost any kind of content. And so LED domes certainly are another step in this constant technology towards the future. So what the LEDs, I just wish there were more LED domes so more people could see them. But it's really just the resolution alone is just mind-boggling. It's just stunning. I saw the LED dome in Salt Lake City from Evans and Sutherland, and it's just absolutely stunning. They don't have a full LED dome, but it's a partial LED dome for demonstration. But yeah, just incredible. So yes, there is a future for LED domes.
Okay. Thank you so much one more time. Uh, I guess we can conclude here. I'm not sure if there are more questions, but I think time is up. And before we end this, I just wanted to thank APS again and for all the people who are in charge of APS, especially to Marwan, Dr. Zainab, Dr. Omar Fikri, to Basma Diab, because she's been translating, and to all of the other members. Thank you so much. And thank you, Marwan, for having me with you also.
Yeah, thank you again.
Thank you.
I enjoyed seeing all your faces and listening to your questions. It was a very privilege to be invited. Thank you, Omar and Mon. And I just really enjoyed talking to you. I hope to see all of you someday at some conference.
Yes. If you don't mind now, everyone, we would like to have a group photo from the screen.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, to remember this spectacular presentation by Jon did by a very well-known planetarian like Jon. So I would recommend everyone to open the camera and try to be in this special group photo together. الكل يعني انا اسف عم بحكي انجليزي مش عارف ليش اوكي خلينا نحكي بالعربي انه اتشرف انه حضراتكم تفتحوا الكاميرات وناخذ صورة جماعية مع مستر جون لانه محاضرة قيمة وان شاء الله تاريخية هذه المحاضرة. فاتمنى الكل يفتح الكاميرات مع ابتسامة. اوكي ناخذ المستطيل من المستطيل المتكلم من جون. جون please last words. Okay, from you.
Smile, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you. I needed the speaker square around your photo. Thank you that's what happened. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank everyone, all the members, all the friends, and special thanks to Omar for يعني introducing you to us. We know you, but he knew you before even. And I'd like to thank also Muhammad Abbas for his great moderation work, and the biggest thank to Basma. Basma, thank you very much for the translation into English, sorry, from English into Arabic, and everyone. شكرا لكم جميعا وبارك الله فيكم، وإلى اللقاء في الاثنين القادم. عفوا الاثنين الشهر القادم، الاثنين الأول من الشهر القادم. So John, we meet the first Monday every month. That's our يعني program, educational and technological monthly program. The first Monday for every month. Yes, usually it is in Arabic, but sometimes at least twice a year we maintain to have an expert like you to be with us in English. Thank you for this time being with us. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.